The following is a presentation of the Mat Talk Podcast Network.
From the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, this is Legends. I'm Jason Bryant. Prepare for a journey through wrestling's past, present, and future, as we'll hear the great stories of wrestling and success from the true legends of the sport here on Hall of Fame Legends. The goal of wrestling is to take an opponent off his feet and place him on the mat. Perhaps no wrestler in collegiate wrestling has done it better or more often than Joe Gonzales. Gonzales perfected the takedown during his time as a 118-pound wrestler at Cal State Bakersfield. His 1980 wrestling season ranks amongst the finest in collegiate wrestling history. Gonzales' 55-0 record is the national record for most wins in a single season with no defeats and no ties. He notched 448 takedowns that year, also a national record. During his career, Cal State Bakersfield was a Division II program, so Gonzales had a unique opportunity to win championships in two different divisions. He won the NCAA Division II tournament on March 1st, 1980, with a 28-11 win in the championship finals. Then, just 2 weeks later, he won the NCAA Division I championship tournament, scoring 16 points in 4 of the 6 matches during his championship run. His junior season was almost as successful. Gonzales went 44-1 during the 1979 season, winning a Division II championship with a 22-14 win in the finals. He entered the Division I NCAA tournament as the top seed, but dropped a thrilling 16-13 decision to Mean Gene Mills of Syracuse in the finals. Many consider their exhilarating showdown as the most entertaining collegiate match ever. Gonzales also earned a California Junior College state championship for East Los Angeles College. Gonzales carried his collegiate success into international competition, where he was a 5-time National Open Freestyle Wrestling champion at 114.5 pounds, winning titles in 1980, 1982, 1983, 1985, and 1988. Gonzo was also a 5-time U.S. World Team member, a 3-time World Cup champion, and a bronze medalist at the 1982 World Championships, and also won the title in the 1982 Tbilisi tournament, considered by many as the toughest tournament in the world. Gonzales was a member of the 1984 Olympic freestyle team. In recognition of a record-setting career, Joe Gonzales is recognized as a distinguished member of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, class of 2015. Here with 2015 distinguished member of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, Joe Gonzales. And Joe, the story of your wrestling, you were known as a takedown artist. You had some of the most epic wrestling matches in NCAA wrestling history. And, you had such a great career in freestyle and wrestling at the World Championships. But when did Joe Gonzales first start wrestling, and what made you fall in love with the sport?
I started in Montebello, California, where I'm originally from. I started as a freshman, and I just got done playing freshman football. And, I had some friends that we just kind of, hung out together and say, hey, let's go out for wrestling. So, we asked the wrestling coach if we can go out for wrestling. He said, sure. So I guess you can say that's when I started my wrestling career as a freshman in high school. And, I fell in love with it. I mean, my first day of practice, I got my butt whipped. And I went home and I couldn't walk for like a week. I was so sore. And I just told myself, this is what I want to do. It was, it kind of fit my personality. And I gave up everything else because I kind of played, I used to swim, I did track, cross country, football, little baseball. But I decided this is what I want to do. And I pretty much gave up everything and just concentrated on wrestling.
As we sit here at the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, there's a display from another Californian just right behind you. His name is Stephen Neal, and he was a pretty good wrestler. He won a world title, won some Super Bowl rings, but wrestling for a sport like the football, when you think football player, you think Stephen Neal. When I think football player, I don't necessarily think of a guy of your diminutive stature, but wrestling seemed to work for you in that respect.
Yes, it did. when I played football, I mean, I think I would have started wrestling if it was introduced to me, at a younger age. But, from California, it's, football, basketball, baseball. And football was a more aggressive sport compared to the others. So that's why I was kind of drawn to it. I like that full body contact and, try to take someone out but when I got into wrestling, and that was it. That's now I could get my hands on somebody and, be like a controlled fight, I call it, So.
One of the old adages is it's not the size of the dog in this fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog. And, what was it about wrestling? I mean, you could take that aggressiveness from football, you harness it on the wrestling mat, and then you go through wrestling in California in high school. We know about how good California is now when we talk about the 800 high schools, one state tournament, it being a true state champion. What was it like growing up wrestling in California at that time in high school?
Well, when I started wrestling, I want to say it was 72 when I was a ninth grader. I want to say the following year is when California had their first state tournament. They never had a state tournament. It was just like in sections. So it was called, CIF finals, we called it in Southern California. And so if you were a CIF champ, you were the best, in your weight class in Southern California. We don't know. And Northern California had their own CIF championships. But I want to say in 73 is when they decided to put all the, counties together and started the California state tournament. I never made it to the state tournament. I was never a state champion. I never placed in the state. I didn't do anything in I could say high school. I was never a state champion. But after I graduated that summer was the high school nationals in freestyle and Greco-Roman when they used to have it at the Iowa City Fieldhouse on the University of Iowa campus. And, I told myself, I wasn't going to be able to achieve to be a state champion, but I got one last shot to do something else in high school before I go into college, and that'd be a high school national champion. So I didn't have an off season after my senior year. I just kept, practicing, and I got to the tournament in Iowa, and I won it all. I either pinned or teched everybody, got outstanding wrestler. So, I was able to achieve, I could say a high school goal before I went into college. And then I got into college and it just seemed like, I guess you could say I was a late bloomer and started, I went to, my first college was a junior college, East LA Junior College, and I won the state title for them. And then I went to OU, down the road here, and wrestled for Stan Abel for 1 year and decided, I wasn't too happy with the program, so I transferred to Cal State Bakersfield and wrestled 2 more years for Joe C. And, made it to the finals twice and, lost one time and won it my senior year. So, and then after that, I decided, I want to try to make Olympic team, world team, and, and just kept wrestling.
Now, going back out of high school, and you'd mentioned the East Los Angeles College, which the California community college system is very unique. At least now it is a fall sport. It's a one-semester sport. And a lot of those wrestlers, you see them, they ended up at now Cal Baptist. They'll end up at San Francisco State. They typically have opportunities. You get the 2-year degree, then you've got the opportunities. But a lot of them stay in California at the programs there now. They're with more programs popping up. But what was it like wrestling in that community college system? And do you still have an affinity for that league? I mean, ELAC still has a team. They're down to 22 programs. But what was it like growing up wrestling in that league before you got to that Division I level?
Well, you know what I always tell people back then when I was wrestling, there was like 70, 80 junior colleges in California. We didn't have to go to the national JUCOs. I mean, we had more junior colleges than the whole state of the United States had JCs, I should say. And so a lot of those guys that were California Junior College State champions were able to go to the Division I school, make the team, and a lot of them became All-Americans, because once I left ELAC, I went to Oklahoma and I had to wrestle a couple guys off and beat them out. And then before you know it, I'm rated like 4th in the country, my weight class, and I even made it my first year to the East-West All-Star match, because they considered, I was the best 18-pounder in the West, and at the time was Mike MacArthur from Minnesota was the best in the East, and they had they always had that all-star match. So, and the year before that, I was just wrestling in a state JUCO. So yeah, back then we had so much depth, there's a lot of wrestling programs, and it was tough. Now, like you said, it's down to 21, and it's like, it's just not as competitive to me, and a lot of those kids don't have no good colleges to go to. There's more good wrestlers than there is scholarships. So a lot of them either quit or kind of just go into coaching, and they're unable to continue their wrestling career because they don't get, any sort of financial support. It's kind of sad, but yeah, California, we had Cal State Bakersfield has it, Fresno State dropped it, and supposedly they're bringing it back. Cal State Stanislaus, San Diego State had it, Long Beach State had it, Humboldt State College had it, San Francisco State still has it. There was a Christian college, Biola College in Norwalk had it. I mean, just about Cal State Fullerton had it, and then just dropped it 2 years ago. Cal Poly Pomona had it. I mean, every college in California had wrestling, whether it was a 4-year or an NAIA or Division II and junior college. Even Caltech, all those brainiacs, they had a wrestling program, So, yeah, it's, California has a lot of good wrestlers, but they just don't have no place to go.
One of those places that does exist, though, is your alma mater, Bakersfield. And, you mentioned Joe C., who is, got a great coaching resume, a well-respected guy within the community even today. And you said you left OU. You weren't really happy with things that went on there. But was Bakersfield new life for you?
Yes, it definitely was. In fact, after I, my freshman year at the JUCO at East LA, Joe C. went after me, and then, of course, Stan Abel. And, I chose OU over Cal State, but Cal State was my second choice. And I had known Joe since high school, just wrestling in a lot of freestyle tournaments around the state. And he was always there and talking to me. And, but I chose OU. And then, then I said, okay, I need to go back home and, wrestle for Joe. And yeah, it was just, it was, like a light turned on, and, he never tried to change my style. He tried to add on to it. Along with that, I had a great workout partner, Jan Azevedo. He was already a finalist the year before I got there. And so, and he had, and Joe C. also had a great assistant named Larry Morgan, who has been, pretty good in his wrestling career. So, there was a good coaching staff, and I had a good workout partner, along with some other guys there in the room. And it was still a Division II school, but we were able to compete with Division I guys, in programs and beat them. And, a couple of us made it, won a Division II national title. And then 2 weeks later, we were able to win a Division I national title, So, yeah, it was pretty good.
What's it like peaking for that situation? Obviously, a lot of you look at it now, the Division II wrestlers, okay, they know they don't go on. The Division III wrestlers don't go on. The NAI doesn't have that dual affiliation with as many programs anymore. But back then, the goal is a national championship, obviously Division II. And then how do you get yourself up? I mean, obviously, there's that goal, and then there's a goal beyond a goal. Was that goal beyond the goal for you, that Division I championship through Division II? Yes,
because that whole mentality in the room, even though we're a Division II school, we never talked about Division II. It was just like a tune-up tournament, or just like another warm-up for us, because we never, during the season, we never wrestled maybe one, maybe with San Francisco State, was in a match, but everything else was always Division I schools. We'd have Iowa come in, Oklahoma, Michigan State. We just thought big. And that's because of Joe C. gave us that, he always thought big. And so when we got to Division II, a lot of these guys in our weight class we never heard of, I mean, and some of these Division II schools, had some names we never heard of before. What state is that from? But, we'd win that and then to go to Division I. So our mindset, once we walk into that Cal State Bakersfield room, is like, we want to be a Division I national champion. And I would say that national tournament was like a good warm up. It kind of prepared me for the Division I nationals.
You look at some of the D2 schools back then, and it wasn't uncommon for guys like you that came through Bakersfield. But there's also some hidden gems in Division II. And when you guys came across those at the Division II tournament, there's sometimes you obviously being out in California, you don't see some of the Eastern Division IIs, and you're like, wow, these guys are legit too. I mean, what was it like when you'd run into somebody that was, had the same goals and dreams as you guys did? And we're like, wait a minute, these guys train hard too. You know what?
It's funny you mention that because we bonded. There was a couple of guys that we bonded together. So when we met each other, met each other again at the Division I, like at the weigh-ins or the wrestling room where the guys are losing weight, we all kind of stuck together, and it was like we were like a team amongst ourselves, but all from different colleges from the Division II level. But we all qualified for the Division I, and we talk and just they had the same mentality. They wanted to be an NCAA champion in Division I. So that was kind of unique. That was really unique, and I think it's sad now that, there's less programs, but now they don't let these Division I and II qualifiers go to Division I. I think it's just hurting the sport, And they need more colleges into the Division I. Even in these, they're 1 and 2, they should still be allowed to wrestle there. I don't know what the mentality of thinking of at the time, when they were doing that rule.
Now, when I say this name, it's going to set off a lot of people's memories, and the name's Gene Mills. This is one. This is a match. Even it was before my time, but even I go back and watch it, and I'm in awe of the athleticism and just back and forth. And you guys put on a show. And what do you remember before that match? And what were you expecting going in against Mean Gene?
You always mentally prepare for that, and I already knew it was going to be a tough match. I had worked out every scenario that could happen in the match before I even walked out of there. I always had this mental picture that this happened, that happened, and then, once you kind of shake his hand and get after it, it's like, let the chips fall where they may, But, I've watched the match, and I never said anything about it, but a lot of people have watched the match. They go, Joe, there was one bad call, okay? There was like a 2 reversal and 1 escape where it should have just been a 2 reversal. But that bad call gave me that decision in the last 30 seconds of the period, or whatever was 15, where I did like a little sit out and Gene had pulled me back and got near falling on the match. I think if the call wouldn't went right, I wouldn't have done like a desperate move like that, okay? But, who's to say? It's history now, But a lot of people tell me that was a bad call, and I remember, what? My mind, he's giving him a 1, and that just knew, oh, man, I'm losing now, okay? And it's like 15 seconds left to go, I think about it, it's like, but, it is what it is, and it's over now, and, it just wasn't meant to be,
What about when people talk about them? Obviously, you're on the losing end of it, but when people look at wrestling and they point to your match with Gene Mills and go, this is what wrestling should be. Take the call out of it, but you're talking 29 points on the board, national finals. People just will go back and watch that match today, 35 years after the fact, and go, this is why we need to get back to this. How does that make you feel to know that you were involved in such a match that people still look at and go, this is wrestling?
Yeah, you're right. I look at the wrestling and I go, this is boring. Why are they calling that? These kids are scrambling around, and let them just wrestle. They got to change the rules where it's, these kids get after it more. And I like to see it change more, like it's kind of more freestyle oriented, in the sense where, you get a lot of these collegiate guys that just take you down and just ride and ride. Hey, if you're not improving your position to turn this guy, put you back on your feet. That's my philosophy. That's what I wish it would happen. I mean, you guys always say, everyone does me as a takedown artist. And I was first taught, hey, if you want to be the best in the world, you got to start off being good on takedowns. And that was always my philosophy. So nowadays, I look at this and I go, man, I don't know if I could wrestle like this. I don't even think I could be a national champion, So, the rules need to be changed where it's a lot more action. I don't know if it's the rules or just the mentality of the wrestler nowadays, how they wrestle. I don't know.
So if you were to get a riding time point, it was just because you'd taken a guy down so many times. And, you're not building for that riding time point. It's like, oh, I've got it. Okay, cool.
Right. Exactly. I mean, when you think about riding time, I look at it as stalling. Say it's like 30 seconds in the match. The guy on top, it's tied, and he's just riding and riding. He's got 30 seconds to get that, making a minute riding time. He's going to win the match. That's boring to me. To me, it's boring. I say eliminate riding time. I mean, it's instilled in our American folk style. I mean, some people, the old timers, would probably shoot me, And if I had it my way, you know what I'd do? Change it to totally freestyle rules. Because to me, I think we'd be better in the international level, okay? Because the other countries, all these little kids that start the kids program, all they do is freestyle and Greco, But, America has their traditional folk style wrestling, and you're even looking at me funny like, are you crazy, Joe?
I don't know if I'm saying you're crazy. I don't know how much I'm going to agree or disagree on this rather impartial interview. But we talk about you talk about freestyle, and this is where you had an opportunity to win more than one national championship in freestyle, and you went to represent the United States in the 82 World Championships. What does it mean? You go from not winning a state title in California to winning a couple Division II titles. Then, you got your one Division I title. But now you're representing the United States at the world level. What's it mean to wear red, white, and blue?
Well, for me, it was like I couldn't believe I was, here I am. I'm the best in my country, representing my country. And it was an honor and a privilege. I still get goosebumps thinking about it. Out of billions of people in the world, and, I'm representing my country. You're trying to be the best in the world. I mean, it's an awesome feeling, and I was able to travel and see, learn cultures and all kinds of stuff, and it's like, God, I'm glad I'm an American and I live in the United States of America. And just to walk around and people don't know, like, I was once best in this country, and there's a lot of people in this country. To say that's an honor and a privilege, and I was proud to be part of it.
Last question in terms of these storied walls, the National Wrestling Hall of Fame here in Stillwater, Oklahoma. You go in as a distinguished member. What does it mean for you to be inducted? What were your first thoughts? Can you still believe it?
No, I can't believe it. And it was like, me? Are you kidding me? Leroy calls me, well, Joe, I'm calling you on behalf of the National Wrestling Association that you're being. And I go, you kidding me, Leroy? He goes, no. I go, I think there's a lot more people that deserve it than I do. No, Joe, you got the credentials and, you do well. And I go, yeah, I guess, I still say, I think there should be other people, ahead of me that should have been in here, but I guess there's some people out there that thought I, should be in it. So, I'm humbled and honored, and it's a privilege. I still can't believe it. Me, being with all these great wrestlers, I guess I'm going to be part of history. And I have two little boys too, and my wife was just saying, that plaque, the case where it has like the family ties, brothers or, or husband and wife. She goes, in maybe 20 years, your two boys, Joey and Jacob, will be in that case. I said, oh, I'd like to see that.
Legends is presented by the National Wrestling Hall of Fame and produced by the Mat Talk Podcast Network. If you want to hear more from wrestling's legends, contribute to this ongoing project at halloffamelegends.org/contribute. One-time and small monthly donation options are available. We hope you've enjoyed this look into wrestling history. This has been Legends. I'm Jason Bryant.